Donald Trump's attack on the United States Supreme Court is backfiring in his face. Well, at the State of the Union, although the MeidasTouch network is holding our own People's State of the Union, which you should watch instead of the State of the Union, those Supreme Court justices are going to be sitting right there in front of him. And he rants and raves like a lunatic at the State of the Union. But setting that aside, you know, this Trump regime has a lot of cases before the United States Supreme Court. And the way Donald Trump has been attacking the Supreme Court since their ruling blocking his tariffs against the world, I mean, he's accused them of being foreign agents. He said that they're despicable people whose children should hate them. He's went on to say a number of things like this. There's so many unprecedented things about, about this regime, but just the idea of attacking Supreme Court justices so personally. I've seen really bad people in cases where they're losing behave like this. I mean, this is how Trump behaved even before he was in politics. He would very personally go after judges. He would always get sanctioned, and a lot of things like that would happen to him. And in my career as a lawyer, I'd observe bad behavior of people who were in cases, or even lawyers who would go after the judges. It would never end good for them. Okay. And it would always be in the back of the judge's mind, at the end of the day, that there's really nothing you can do that's ever going to satisfy, this person when they behave in such ways. And let me show you what Donald Trump said. I mean, first, in his whiny, whatever shtick this was on Friday, he talked about how deeply disappointing the ruling is and how ashamed of members. I'm so ashamed for you. Here, play this clip.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country.
And I think what this also does in terms of the backfiring is, okay, you're ashamed of them. That's his tactic. At some point, you have to just directly say, so what? Who the hell cares? I'm ashamed of you as the president of the United States. You've brought shame to this country. And after all of the huffing and puffing, I'll blow your house down. I am ashamed for them, that they are a disgrace to our nation. Do you think that you're a disgrace to our nation? And in many cases, the Supreme Court actually has been a disgrace to our nation, but not this ruling, by empowering you with absolute immunity. But here's what Donald Trump said is they're a disgrace to our nation. Here, play this clip.
They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no.
I just think about in other countries right now, Brazil. Their Supreme Court threw Jair Bolsonaro in prison for 27 years. In South Korea, their insurrectionist president, Jair Bolsonaro, was their insurrectionist president in Brazil. President Yoon, the insurrectionist president in South Korea, a life sentence in prison. You look at the UK right now, former Prince Andrew Mountbatten, he's now facing criminal charge. He's been stripped of his royal titles. Yet the Supreme Court of the United States gave this maniac, who you see right there, absolute freaking immunity. And what he says about them, because they followed the law very clearly in a non-difficult case when it comes to tariffs, which is clearly an Article 1, Section 8 power of Congress. Like, it's so obvious. But Trump, you give him that inch, and that's not enough for him. You give him another inch, you give him absolute immunity, he still comes back and says to you, you're a disgrace. And here he is saying that the right-wing Supreme Court justices, Amy Coney Barrett and Gorsuch, are disgraces to their family. Here, play this clip.
At the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today? And do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible. Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families. You want to know the truth? The two of them. Yeah.
Embarrassment to their families. I mean, the guy says the craziest stuff. And finally, here he is responding to a question, because throughout the interview, he keeps on saying that that the Supreme Court was made to do this ruling by foreign governments or foreign entities, and that they're under the control of foreign influence. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, you mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to?
You're going to find out. You're going to find out. Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. This is backfiring for a lot of reasons. Donald Trump's support is already crashing. We've seen with the Epstein files crashing. His attack on the Maha, Make America Healthy Again, whatever the hell that fraudulent RFK Jr. Thing was, PSYOP was, they're supporting pesticides and all of these things, the glyphosate and all this stuff. The way he's dealing with the economy. And then he goes, and this was my view, the worst week of his presidency. And then he goes out there and finds a way to make it worse. And that's what everybody's seeing. That's what people see, that demented behavior, Harry. And he's going to have to go in front of that court again, too. What do you make of it all, Harry?
Yeah, Ben, demented, honestly, is the word. We used to be talking when we were first seeing these indications of the madman in the White House about, DSM-5 and paranoid narcissistic syndrome and whatever. And then it just goes into background noise, and then it's just Trump. And then I at least try to just steer away from diagnosis or psychoanalysis, but demented is perfectly true. It couldn't be stupider. Just as you say, imagine when those 9 are in front of them. Imagine the next time they won't, let themselves be swayed by it. On the other hand, they're about to hold for him, and they know that they call them lapdogs. They should be ashamed of themselves, etc. And by the way, he came out, right, as he knows these statutes and those statutes. He completely misconstrued what they wrote. He said they've given him all these other powers, and that's all settled. All they did was say those are possibly in play. But I just think, back to the psychology manuals, in a sense, if you just saw the transcript and maybe didn't see how it started, he was sort of schizophrenic about it, right? He was saying, this is the worst decision ever, and I hate them. Oh, but it's not going to be so bad, and we have other ways. But I hate them. And on the other hand, I have other routes. He could easily, the smart play would have been easily, and they knew they were going to lose. So this should have been, already decided in advance, is to, give it back in the hand treatment and say we're on to other ways to do it. But he couldn't stop himself. This is, the notion of loyalty to him, and that these two people he put on the Supreme Court, he really, truly believes their duty, fuck the country, pardon me, Midas Mighty, but to Donald Trump personally is to come through. That's their duty to him. And he just has no way of hiding his steam coming out of his ears. So what, you wondered when he first came up how he would play it, and he started a little bit. I deeply disagree, and he just kind of got wound up. And they were lapdogs and complete, they hate the country and all this stuff. These are Supreme Court justices. So, demented really is for this would be stop the tape right here and let's bring in the conclave of psychiatric specialists to then define it. And yeah, of course, it's stupid for things coming forward. Now, I want to say that you're right that this is a pretty straightforward, easy case under Article 1, Section 8, and everyone kind of agreed on the analytic structure. It was at the level of doctrine, not that big a deal, and people expected it. But it plays as this big defeat for him, and instead of trying to slough it off or co-opt them, he now makes it seem as if the Supreme Court in toto, this hyper-conservative Supreme Court, are enemies of the people. That just can't be good for the Trump totalitarian agenda that is going to be going through the Supreme Court. Even if I want to say the decision today is no indication that when the chips are down, they won't rule for him. But there's no doubt that he played it as stupidly as he could. And that is going to be quite a tableau at the State of the Union, which leads me to one more point. Justices and judges are human. They're not allowed to defend themselves for the most part in public. Do you remember when I believe it was Obama made a statement about the Supreme Court, much, 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 much milder than anything Trump said, and Alito scowled and shook his head, knowing he shouldn't? They are thin-skinned. You can't help but be, because they can't defend themselves in the public arena. And they've been vilified by Trump to the whole country. It's not as if it's just a little slight that they'll forget.
Harry Litman runs the Talking Feds YouTube channel, the Talking Feds podcast, and the Talking Feds Substack. After you watch this video, search Talking Feds on YouTube, subscribe, help Harry Litman hit 1 million subscribers on the Talking Feds YouTube channel. Yeah. Harry, great to hear from you. And Harry, you're doing an interview with Josh Shapiro soon in San Diego. Tell us about that quickly.
Oh, yeah, really looking forward to it. We run here something called Talking San Diego. They really have needed it in this town. So people come in and we do one-on-ones to live crowds, often with books. And Josh Shapiro does have a new book coming out, and we've done them with, pretty prominent people, Nancy Pelosi and Cory Booker and the like. But I was really thrilled. That's my home state. And he is taking a swing out here and coming down just to do this Talking San Diego. I'm here to tell you, since you serve it up to me, Ben, and thank you for doing it. Tickets really are going very fast, and people are excited about it. He's somebody who is kind of introducing himself to this part of the world. We actually just did a one-on-one with him last week that you can check out. But Talking San Diego on April 14th at 7 p.m. It's, I think, going to be really, really good, interesting, important evening with someone who's, really of great interest, and people in California anyway are very eager to hear from.
Everybody subscribe to Talking Feds YouTube. Thanks, Harry.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ben.
Everybody subscribe here. Let's get to 6 million.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.